Hello and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to our lecturer, Dr. Muhammad Arif bin Muhammad Daud, and all my fellow friends. So for today, we are going to present to you guys about general consideration on accounting for financial product, ISTISNA, RAHNU, and QARD. Hello and hi everyone, my name is Aisyah binti Harun, I'm a matric 2019-404656. So for the abstract, Islamic accounting is the accounting process which provides appropriate information to stakeholders of an entity to ensure the entity is continuously operating within Islamic Sharia boundary and delivering on its socio-economic objectives. For the purpose of this research is to determine the general consideration on accounting for Islamic financial product, RAHNU, QARD, and ISTISNA in Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. In this research, also state about the finding and discussion about general consideration regarding accounting. As the result, we can see recognition and measurement between RAHNU, QARD, and ISTISNA. The result also shows the presentation and disclosure as the discussion in this research. The data were analyzed by using online research methods. It is the ways in which researchers can collect data via the internet. The result of this research will be fully used for RAHNU, QARD, and ISTISNA as the Islamic financial products in Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afza Afrina binti Afkazaidi, number matric 2019-866044. We'll present to you guys about introduction, ISTISNA, and QARD. So firstly, we go to introduction. Despite conflicting perspective on the idea of riba in the pre-Islamic era and now, Islamic scholars have worked since the early of 1950 to design and execute riba-free, which is usually free banking. The desire to eliminate riba, usury, from the Islamic community gave rise to the concept of Islamic banking and finance. Islamic banking and finance, also known as Sharia compliant finance or Sharia compliant banking, has its own product, service, and contract that are distinct from traditional banking. ISTISNA, RAHNU, and QARD are a few examples. This study aims to investigate the general consideration on accounting for financial product of ISTISNA, RAHNU, and QARD from Bank Islamic Malaysia Berhad, which is BIMB.
Hi, my name is Nur Shifa binti Muhammad Zamri, number matric 2019-254085. Okay, we continue to the literature review. Malaysia is the first country to introduce the Islamic banking system in Southeast Asia. The gradual and moderate implementation of the Islamic banking system is the most appropriate and a wise method in the process of strengthening the economy in a balanced and comprehensive manner. Bank Islam or Islamic banking is an institution established to provide banking facilities and service especially to Muslims in a manner based on Sharia law. Means a framework of banking and financial institution whose principle of travel and practice are based on Sharia to realize the fair distribution of wealth and income. Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad was established on 1st March 1983 with a paid-up capital of RM80 million. The bank commenced its operation on 1st July of the same year. In terms of the number of branches, BIMB now has a total of more than 80 branches. BIMB now offers over 40 products, all of which are produced through detailed studies and research. 3 products in Islamic banking are ISTISNA, RAHNU, and QARD. First, ISTISNA refers to a contract to sell a purchaser a non-existent asset that is to be constructed. Second, RAHNU refers to a contract where a party pledges an asset as collateral to another party to fulfill an obligator's liability or obligation owed to the pledger in the event of default of such obligor. The last one is QARD contract is established when ownership of a sum of money belonging to the lender is transferred to the borrower and the borrower is obligated to repay the lender in full.
Next, we move to ISTISNA. The definition of ISTISNA in terms of language is derived from the word sona'a, which means to make letter, and then plus the letter alif, sin, and ta, and it's become ISTISNA, which means asking for something to be made. Based on scholars' opinion, is agreement on selling goods that are in the ownership of the seller, with the condition that it is made by seller or request to be specially made by the raw materials from the seller. Next, we move to legality. Majalah Al-Ahkam Al-Adliyah Article 389 allows istisna provide that the goods book must be agreed in terms of description and nature. Lastly, we go to the pillars of istisna. First, contracting parties, which consist of mustasni, buyer, and sani, seller. These parties must having competence in the form of puberty and have optimal abilities such as not crazy, not being forced, and others of the same. Next, goods, which is masnu, which means the object of the contract includes the goods and the price of istisna goods. Lastly, sigoh, that consists of ijab and kabul, which shows the statement of istisna, buying and selling will on both sides.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Najratul Sufyana binti Muhammad and I'm from class IC1105BB and my matric number 2019892656, and I will present about the literature review about RAHNU and also discussion about the istisna and also RAHNU. Right, we continue to the RAHNU. RAHNU in Arabic means withholding or holding back. The word of RAHNU, mortgage or security money in Islamic, is the Islamic pawn broking, offers jurisprudential terminology, means possessions offered as security for a debt so that the debt will be taken from pawn broking money. It is defined as repayment guarantee of debtor by creditor, which allows the creditor to hold in an asset in respect with the debt. RAHNU is in charge as a relief if payment cannot be paid or there be default occur. This means that the creditor is permitted to take any action right on the asset by selling it off or put it on auction because the charges failure to obey the term and condition that is set during the contract. The charges fail. Alright, the legality of RAHNU in Islamic jurisprudence. RAHNU is an agreement where a valuable asset is placed as collateral for debt. It also means immutability and durability is probably in Sharia perspective. It is because this product is already used and well accepted in Islam during Prophet Muhammad's time. Also in Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 283, in meaning, if yes are on a journey and cannot find a scribe, a pledge with possession may serve the purpose, and if one of you deposits a thing on trust with another, let the trustee discharge his trust and let him fear his Lord. That's the proof in Al-Quran says about the legality RAHNU. That's for the pillars of RAHNU consists of 5, which is Rahin, Murtahin, Marhum, Marhun, and the last one is Siwa. Alright, Rahin is a party that borrows money from another party by placing valuable asset as collateral. Murtahin is the party that lends money to another party and responsible for the safety of the valuable asset pledged by the borrower. From the other aspect, the contract also should have the willingness from both parties, which is borrower and the lender. Marhum B is the debt which the object is pawned. Marhun is the pawn object as insurance of the debt, and the last one is sighah, an agreement between the borrower and lender between the loan amounts, related issues. In the addition, the contract of RAHNU will be continuously apply the terms of both parties, which is lender and the borrower. They apply.
Next, we move to QARD. The definition definition of qard is the gift of wealth to others who can build or ask back, or in other words, lend without expecting a reward. The Maliki scholars define qard as the payment of something that is the value for repayment is no different or worth it. Next, we move to the legality. The Quran and Sunnah, as well as Muslim scholars ijma, have proven the permissibility of qard, which is loan contract. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, for example, declares in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 282, which means, "O you who have believed, when you contract a debt for a specified term, write it down." Next, we move to the pillars of qard contract. Firstly is akid, the contracting parties. Invalid contract to the people who are unable to act, such as insane people and people who are in power, mahdud, or weak to wasteful or other reasons. Next, mahdud alaih, which means things that are contracted, such as object, wealth. In the sense of every engagement in akad al-qard, there must be goods as an engagement or transaction, which is object of the contract. Thirdly, mawdu' al-akad, which means the main purpose of holding contract. In a different contract, the main purpose of the contract is different. Lastly, sigah al-akad, that consists of ijab and kabul.
4.0 Research methodology. Data were analyzed by using online research method. Online research method is a research method that involves the collection of information from the internet. With the advent of the internet, the traditional pen and paper research technique have taken a back seat and made room for online research. It is the ways in which researchers can collect data via the internet. For the advantage, it can be minimum investment of time and resources, and also central pools of facts and figures. And the last is capable tools for collecting information. We move to the 5.1 general consideration regarding accounting. Given that there is no specific accounting standard that governs the disclosure for Islamic financial products, IBS state that a fair presentation of the financial statement requires an entity to present information including accounting policies in a manner that provide relevant, comparable, and understandable information. It provides additional disclosure when compliant with the specific requirement in MFRSS is insufficient to enable users to understand the impact of particular transaction, other events and conditions on the entity's financial position and financial performance. Where there is any departure from the provisions of the relevant MFRSS, the Islamic Bank, in order to reflect a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the bank, should disclose the following. First, the relevant MFRS for which the Islamic Bank State Department from the nature and reason of the departure. The second is the financial effect of the departure on each item in the financial statement that would have complying with the MFRS requirement. As required by the BNM guideline on financial reporting for Islamic financial institutions, the Islamic Bank is also to disclose financing, visible and other costs loan with a breakdown on first measurement, second types of financing, third geographical distribution, profit rate sensitivity, economic sector or purpose, and the last is residual contractual maturity. The Islamic Bank should ensure that for financial instruments measured at fair value through profit or loss, it should separately disclose those designed as fair value upon initial recognition and those that have been specified under the operational risk integrated online network for guidance on treatment of Sharia non-compliance item.
For the finding in ISTISNA, the practical step for ISTISNA contract implementation by international financial institution IFIs, either by direct investment to the manufacturer or using a parallel ISTISNA contract where the bank enters an ISTISNA contract in the capacity of the seller to the customer and a buyer to the manufacturer. In Bank Islam, they use ISTISNA, in-house financing, bridging financing, other term financing, and the last one for the self-financing. The common trend in Islamic banking operation in Malaysia has been application of the credit sale in financing. Currently, it constitutes more than 90% of Islamic banking assets. Next, we continue for RAHNU. Regardless of the amount of funding required, collateral is mandatory and only in the form of gold or silver. As the purity of the metals, different institutions have their specific guidelines in the mechanism and benefits of RAHNU over conventional pawnbroking. Rational clients of financial institutions are only concerned over the cost of borrowing from one system against another. In Bank Islam, the cost of pawnbroking in year 2018 amount 73,110 ringgit. In the year 2019, Bank Islam earned cost 71,107 ringgit of pawnbroking, and in the year 2020 they earned a cost of 5,480 ringgit.
Next, finding for QARD, the QARD Al-Hassan principle is also widely used in Islamic or RAHNU pawn schemes in Malaysia offered by cooperative and banks. For QARD products offered in BIMB, they are underused. Among the factors that make QARD Al-Hassan based products less offered by Islamic banking, the first one is it is high financing risk without any repayment guarantee. Next, the perception of the community that says that the QARD Al-Hassan loan is not obligatory because it is a welfare assistance, while any financial loan is obligatory to be paid off for its original objective. The last one is the problem of moral hazard among borrowers, reduce the confidence of Islamic banks to lend to them because it is feared that it will increase the rate of non-performing loan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ashki binti Bahuri. My matric number is 2019239032. I will present about the discussion about ISTISNA and RAHNU, the recognition and measurements, also the presentation and disclosure. First of all, I will explain about the ISTISNA recognition and measurement. The standard deals with the treatment of revenue and cost on construction, which is MFRS 15, which is annual financial statement, and MFRS 9, general requirements for financial instrument. And ISTISNA contracts, contractual parties may engage into a parallel ISTISNA contract with specifications that are identical or similar to those of the first ISTISNA contract. Parallel ISTISNA is made up of two mutually independent ISTISNA contracts that exist on both sides. First, the customer and the banks. Two, the banks and the builder. The liability exposure of the bank in this regard has been implemented to widespread acceptance of the structure by many banks and financial institutions. Next, for the presentation and disclosure, the significance of financial instruments should be disclosed, as well as information about the nature and extent of risk arising from such financial instruments. The capital requirement often exceeds the capacity of a single company, and thus there is a need for project financing. ISTISNA is suitable for real estate and infrastructure development because it is a flexible Islamic manufacturing contract which can accommodate the involvement of other parties. ISTISNA was perceived as a risky due to the high possibility of production failure. They are the area of risk and the mitigation technique. Firstly, liquidity risk. Financial can arrange phased payments. For the delivery risk, financier can avoid paying cost overruns by initiating a SPV in the case of delay. For the default risk, financier can obtain collateral from the buyer and warranty from the builder. For the market risk, financier can make arrangement with the insurance agency. Next, 6.2 RAHNU. For the recognition and measurements, RAHNU original MFRS 9 calculation is based on fair value plus or minus transaction expenses. Following that, RAHNU is measured at amortized cost using the effective profit rate approach. The level of RAHNU efficiency and the analysis of its determinants will be an interest to the stakeholder such as customers, members, RAHNU outlet managers, local communities and RAHNU regulators. And last, most of the RAHNU branches are facing increasing return to scale in their operations. Furthermore, for the presentation and disclosure RAHNU, financial statements for such funding should be prepared in accordance with MFRS 132, which is Annual Financial Statement in English. MFRS 7 must related to the legal instrument and policy documents, and BNM guidelines of financial reporting for Islamic banking institution. They are the same presentation and disclosure difficulties that apply to other finance products that apply to the RAHNU. The Islamic bank must disclose the importance of such financial products as well as information on the nature and scope of the risk associated with them, such as credit risk, liquidity risk, market risk, are example of such hazards as mentioned before. In the notes to the financial statement, the carrying amounts of each type of financial asset should be declared individually.
Next, for the QARD recognition and measurement, the initial measurement for QARD under MFRS 9 is based on fair value plus or minus transaction cost and subsequently. Next, QARD is measured at amortized cost using the effective hibah rate method. Next, presentation and disclosure. Presentation and disclosure issues pertaining to QARD are similar to that of the other financing contracts of the Islamic bank such as Murabaha, Ijarah, RAHNU and others. Next, as may be recalled, MFRS 132, MFRS 7 as well as the BNM guidelines on financing report are relevant. The information of the significance of the financial instrument as well as the nature and extent of risk arising from financial instruments such as credit risk, liquidity risk and the market risk. The last is the carrying amount of each category of financial asset should be disclosed separately in the notes to the financial statement. For this suggestion, the first one is limited market-based financial intermediation and products, which means financial intermediaries have to specialize in mobilizing deposit, identifying investment opportunities, structuring, backing securities and originating, while allowing the complementary financial to fill the remaining gaps and provide liquidity and risk sharing. Next, the financial intermediaries of Islamic financial institutions have the value proposition to launch Islamic market, Islamic banking and the products. They need to offer the right choice of innovation Islamic finance product with a unique professional approach which is precise and timely. The last suggestion is limited risk management functionality. The Islamic financial intermediation has to take well with the risk management and develop an organized market for offloading risk to achieve the risk diversification. The installation of such scheme could play an important role in filling gaps in risk management arrangement and thus increase these rates by regulatory agencies and external credit rating agencies.
In conclusion, the development of RAHNU in Malaysia has triggered a positive phenomenon that has opened more eyes many industries among financial institutions or non-financial institutions to create this scheme. However, the performance between each service provider was found to be different from each other. Therefore, RAHNU was introduced to protect the society, especially the Muslim, from riba transaction. QARD is also widely used in Islamic or RAHNU scheme in Malaysia, offered by cooperative and banks. The RAHNU scheme is a money lending facility where a pawnbroker will place the pawned goods as collateral for the loan made. Although it is quite difficult for financial institutions to implement QARD Al-Hasan, as they have to maintain good profits in competition with other Islamic financial institutions. The ISTISNA is one of the important instruments of the Islamic financial system introduced by Bank Negara Malaysia Berhad. While the society considered Islamic financial system to be only for Muslims, this perception will lead the rejection of ISTISNA, which is also one of the Islamic financial system. So, as a Muslim, we must support the Islamic financial system in order to avoid the element of usury.